And welcome back to Coverage and Coffee. This week, we've got auto coverage, and this is Jason Bidish from Barr's Insurance.
Hey, Luke, how you doing?
I am great. How are you?
Fantastic.
Boy, I'll tell you what, when it comes to auto, there's a lot involved, isn't there?
Lots going on. Lots of different coverages that do a lot of different things.
Okay.
And we talked earlier, a couple weeks ago, about state minimum coverages, okay? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to touch on that real quick, and then I'm going to go through the coverages on what is going to be on your auto policy. So when we talked a week or so ago about your homeowner's insurance, dig out your auto insurance policy, and we're going to go through it together, and we'll find out what you're covered for and if you have enough.
All right, there's a reason this is called Coverage and Coffee, because you can go through this while drinking your coffee this morning.
It's that quick.
All right.
All right, first off, let's start at the top of your policy, bodily injury.
Ooh.
All that means, you hit me with your car. Now, after this one and this one, it's going to say bodily injury liability. So if we remember when we talked about the homeowner's policy, when I said liability, where did you screw up? Same mentality. You caused bodily injury, and it was your fault. How much is your policy going to pay out? Again, do you have state minimum coverages? Maybe you should have 100,000, 300,000, because the more you have, the better protected you are. Okay?
And by the way, just recalling from a couple weeks ago, if you go with the state minimum, that's not a lot.
That is not a lot at all. So, again, remember, life flights to Pittsburgh aren't cheap, and state minimum is, if we all remember, $15,000 per person. So if you use $12,000 of that helicopter money, that $3,000, you're not going to the hospital in a helicopter for a quick x-ray.
Wow.
Yeah, so the next one down is property damage liability. Okay, again, where did you screw up property damage-wise? Did you hit my house? Did you hit my car? Did you hit a bunch of cars? Did you drive over my bicycle? You owe me money because you hurt something of mine or of somebody else's. Okay? So there's that section. And then this section right here is called first party benefits. These help you if you're in a car accident, okay? Me personally, I was in an accident last August. I totaled my vehicle on 227, and my car did some Michael Bay movie theatrics
cool.
across 227. Oh, it was awesome. But I had coverage to protect me because when I had to be taken to the hospital, had physical therapy, had to go to the chiropractor, a lot of crazy stuff happened to me in that car accident. But that's where this came into play, medical expense coverage. That helps you, like I said, with an ambulance ride, with getting your arm broken, physical therapy, things like that. Things that take care of you first before the other guy's bodily injury comes into play. Okay? The next one is work loss. So, Luke, if you're in an accident, you can't work, you can't provide for the family, there's different limit levels that you can get to protect you. And the state maximum is $2,500 per month at a $50,000 max. In Pennsylvania, you can't give anything higher than that. On medical expenses, it's $100,000. Wow. So whenever you, like, let's say you don't have health insurance. A lot of small business owners, to save money, they might not have, or one-man shows like contractors or whatever. Sometimes they don't have health insurance because it can get pricey. But if you're in a car accident and you have really low medical expense limits and you don't have health insurance, that could get really pricey for you. So you may want to take a look at increasing your medical expense coverage. The next one, or the next two actually, kind of go hand in hand. Accidental death and funeral benefits, because if one happens, you're going to probably need the other. And accidental death if you die in a car accident, okay? The limit levels on there are $2,500 or $1,500 or $0. And funeral benefits, oh, I messed that up. Funeral benefits are $0, $1,500, and $2,500. Accidental death is $0, $5,000, $10,000, and $25,000. Something to consider, okay? Even if you have life insurance, funeral expenses and accidental death are so cheap, you might as well get the state maximum. I'm talking for funeral expenses, I've seen at levels of $0, $1,500, and $2,500. Insurance costs for a year of $0 for $0, obviously, $2 and $4 for the year.
Seriously?
Yes, just get the state maximum.
Holy cow.
Okay, something else to consider with state minimum. State minimum is just that. Any of this other stuff that I'm talking about, and over here in just a second, you get zilch of that. You only get medical expense, property damage, and bodily injury. Keep you legal for less and hardly cover you either. So
I'm just thinking, if you're in a serious accident and you have state minimum, you're screwed.
You are screwed. Big time, because again, so many different things can happen to you, and you don't think about it.
Wow.
You don't think about it at the time because, hey, I can save money. Now, the last part of first-party benefits is extraordinary medical benefits. This, again, is really good for people that want to spend that extra dollar, putting it towards making sure if you're hurt in a car accident, that you have enough protection that you don't have to go towards your health insurance. And that you can get up to $1 million of extraordinary medical benefits.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Something to consider here too that I didn't touch on is the highest limits for liability that you can get for that. Remember, if we talked about before, per person per accident is $2,500 or $250,000 per person, $500,000 per accident, and a property damage is the highest you can go is $250,000. And those limits too, if you want an umbrella policy, which we'll talk about at another time, you need $250,000, $500,000 on property damage or bodily injury before you can get an umbrella policy.
Oh, wow.
Just something to think about for future coverage and coffees. So this next coverage here, that coverage is called uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage. Now what that covers you for is if I hit you and I don't have insurance, or I don't have enough insurance to cover you and your bodily injury. Okay? And again, sometimes what I normally like to do for people on the uninsured, underinsured motorist is just match these coverages. It just makes a lot more sense. You obviously can't go higher than this, but it's still a lot better coverage for you. And this word that you might see, because you got your policies out, I'm sure, is next to the uninsured, underinsured motorist or around it, it's going to say stacking. Do you know what that means, Luke?
I have no idea.
Okay. What stacking is it multiplies the amount of vehicles you have by the level of uninsured, underinsured motorist coverages you have. So if we remember back, a lot of agents give $100,000 per person, $300,000 per accident. Mm-hmm. If you put that over here on uninsured, underinsured motorists as well, and multiply it by 2 cars, you have $200,000 per person, $600,000 per accident on uninsured, underinsured motorists. Okay, and a lot of times, and I've done this, is if you even have 1 car, you still sometimes want to stack it. There was a court case years ago where a client came in to the agent and the agent forgot to ask about stacking the coverage because they added a vehicle to the policy. What do you think happened?
Not good.
It wasn't good at all. The client was injured in a car accident, and if they had stacking on their policy, they would have had a lot better coverage to protect their family. So now every time, and a lot of companies are different, but we like to play it safe, that if your policy is non-stacked, you have to come back in and re-sign paperwork, different forms if you add a vehicle or change vehicles on your policy. Even if you have 1 vehicle and the coverage doesn't really go up for you, it's still sometimes that pain in the butt issue you just don't want to deal with, coming back in and seeing me and signing paperwork. So now this coverage right here is called the physical damage part of your policy. Okay, physical damage is all about your vehicle. Okay, so if it gets hurt in a car accident, if your car gets hurt in a car accident like mine did, mm-hmm. What am I going to pay out on comp and collision? And comprehensive, that's deer, glass, tree falls on your car, the emergency brake lets go and it rolls down a hill into a river, which happened to a client of mine. That's what that covers.
Wow.
Okay? And comp claims, we'll talk about this in another video, but comp claims don't hurt you in your premium as much as a collision claim would. But we're going to go into more depth later in another video. Collision, that's when you swerve to miss the deer and hit a tree instead. Okay, the collision, exactly what it says. Insurance people aren't that creative. So, so collision coverage means you hit something besides a deer or an animal. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay. Now, towing and labor. Okay, I know I kind of made a double T there, but towing and labor is per disablement. If your car breaks down, that's where towing and labor comes into play. When my car had to be towed after my accident, it's kind of taken care of with the claim. They just pay it. This towing and labor coverage is for, again, your car breaks down, you get a flat, you need a tow, things like that. And a lot of insurance companies are offering a little higher coverages. Sometimes people just get $25. I suggest getting $50 or more, just because, again, it ain't cheap to tow. I mean, you're probably waking somebody up in the middle of the night to come tow you. They're not going to just hand you over a tow. And the next one is rental coverage, okay? So if your car is in an accident, okay? If your car it isn't that great of a car and it keeps breaking down and you need to go rent a car, that's your problem, because you got to take care of your car, okay? The rental coverage only covers you if you're in an accident. And the lowest that I would go is $40 a day, $1,200 maximum. You know why, Luke?
Why?
I'll tell you why. It's because my brother, he used to work at Enterprise, and he said that it was a pain in the butt when people would come in and try to rent cars that they only had $30 a day in coverage. Now the coverage is only coverage for a month. So if you have $30 a day of coverage, you're only going to get $900 maximum. If it takes a while for the garage to fix your car and you have $30 a day, and mostly it's easier to put you in a car at $40 a day, so then you're not paying out-of-pocket expenses.
That's smart.
So $40 a day or more. And there's some companies out there that are offering $50 a day. I think a few are offering $75, but 40 or 50 is kind of the sweet spot for rental coverage. It makes it a lot easier to get you into a car that you want to be in. So if you get the lower coverage of, let's say, $20 or $30 a day to save money, let's say you drive a big, big Chevy Silverado. At $20 a day, it might put you in a Chevy Aveo, okay, or a small clown car, and you don't want your insurance company doing that. You want them to make sure that you're in the vehicle that you were in before, or something similar. And that's auto insurance.
Oh, very cool. You go through all this stuff every week, Jason. And I got to tell you, I don't mind paying a little bit more if I know I'm going to sleep at night, because some of this stuff's pretty scary if you just go with the state minimum.
Exactly, and again, even minimums on rental and towing. I want, even though you're going to sweat during a car accident because they're scary, because I was in one. Mm-hmm. You want to sweat a little less knowing that you're covered, and spending maybe $50 a year more is going to take a lot off your mind and a lot off your pocket, paying $50 more than it would if you didn't have limits that are actually going to protect you.
Wow. Alrighty. Jason Bidish, Barr's Insurance. How can folks get a hold of you?
Well, I'm down in the Park building, so you can stop down there and visit us or give us a ring at 827-7767.
All right. Coverage and Coffee with Jason Bidish. See you next week.
See you, Luke.